Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Fun with Flame. I'm your host, Daniel the Flame, and I know I've been gone for a while, but I'm back now. There was some issues that I had to deal with, but it took a while, and now that those are over with, I can finally get back to doing what I love, talking. But forget all that rigmarole. Love that word. I there have been recently a bunch of goofy shit going on within the realm of like entertainment and whatnot. Typically, everyone's talking about the Acolyte Star Wars show and how bad it is. And I really ain't got no dog in that fight, considering the fact that one, I hate Star Wars. Two, don't care for anything currently that Disney's been doing with anything. And three, yeah, I'm not watching that bullshit. And I feel as if the attention towards what has happened to Star Wars is a very interesting concept, and definitely needs a deep dive by so many other people do it because they actually got passion for Star Wars. But realistically, I don't feel like doing anything about it because of the fact that I don't care for it. But I digress. I want to talk about Blade because if you grew up in the 90s like I did, then Blade is, and essentially, you're interested in nerd culture or just entertainment in general. Blade was a big fucking deal. Um, the movie starring Wesley Snipes was just a monumental piece of cinema. Just, just in the overall history and aesthetic of movies in general, considering the fact that essentially it is relegated towards a superhero movie, it being something that technically saved Marvel from bankruptcy, uh, is a big fucking deal. And if it wasn't for that, then we wouldn't have what the MCU became as one of the most profitable movie franchises of all time, a couple of years ago, ever. We wouldn't have had that if it wasn't for Blade. So, with the intent of making a Blade movie, basically years and years later, it it comes with this. It really comes with this idea of essentially being a fucking layup. Like this movie could easily clear $1 billion if it was handled right. And there's multiple factors behind it that would justify that price tag. Now, you might think, well, these movies don't make billions anymore because how bad. And it's like, granted, but remember, Spider-Man made $1 billion. No Way Home doesn't make sense as a movie. It does not make any sense. There's a lot of things that happen within that movie that just does not connect together if you're paying attention. But you're blinded by the star power that is Spider-Man. So because of that, you don't ask questions. You just consume the content. And then it's like you got not just one, but three fucking Spider-Mans in a movie. Yeah, and they're longtime favorites being brought into the forefront of a current favorite by a lot of people who isn't Spider-Man, but people still like him because he calls himself Spider-Man, which is literally on brand with current Spider-Man. Because if you look at the comments, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you just get a bunch of people and call them Spider-Man, regardless of what they're about or what they're doing, people are going to be okay with it. Now, not saying that it makes money. It's just that people are going to be okay with it because Spider-Man's that big. He's that big of a deal. He's that popular. That's why they do what they do. Whatever. But essentially, proof of that movie, essentially coming out the woodworks with the MCU being a shit show of terrible movies, and then essentially you just have this movie that main focus is just it got a bunch of Spider-Man in it, and they really only pop up in like the third fucking act. It just drove home to a lot of people to just accept that movie, and it made $1 billion. So to think that Blade, of all things, with a good budget, a good script, good act, an actor that basically everyone looks at and was like, don't mind him being Blade. The concept of Blade itself is not far fetched because so what if it's dealing with vampires? People are already used to the idea of Blade. He's had 3 movies already. That's fine. It's like, yeah, it's not Wesley Snipes, but it's not as if that's a linchpin in making the movie itself successful. If it's handled correctly, it would have been fine. And considering all of those factors, as well as the fact that people know the character, people like the character, and there's been so much done in the name of Blade or within Blade's sake, Whereas like you've never really seen a big deal cartoon adaptation of him that was like held in high regard during the 90s after the movie came out. You typically only got snippets of him here and there if you weren't a fan of the comics that just read his different runs of comics and stuff like that. There's not a lot to go on for that character except for those movies. So all of with that being said, there's just nothing but it has nothing but essentially a backing behind the movie scene of it actually catering towards people who would enjoy seeing that character brought to the big screen again and then actually handled well. Because one of the other factors that leads me to believe that this could have made $1 billion is the fact that Blade is one of the few movies that has done something where you have seen it tackled both well and terribly. And with the first two Blade movies, you got yourself an idea of essentially how to handle Blade. And then with the third movie, you literally have an example of what not to do with Blade. Blade Trinity is a perfect blueprint for, and it's so fucking stupid that this is true, but Blade Trinity is a perfect blueprint for exactly how the current MCU movies are being made. You're adding in a group of people who essentially downplay the legacy of the character that's already been existing. You have a female character essentially showing up the male character. You have them connected through some weird offshoot related relative aspect that just kind of is like, I guess. Everything that they do is just kind of pushed into the forefront when realistically you're only there for the main character, but the movie itself is making the main character seem lesser than these other characters. You give no sense of compassion or any type of caring towards these other background characters who do nothing but shit on the main character, to where when something bad happens to them, you really don't give a fuck. And then you add in a wisecracking joke machine that essentially is just constantly hidden with quips and whatnot, while the main character has to be brooding and stout in whatever they're doing, but it never comes across as actually being funny or genuine. It doesn't work. Again, everything in Blade Trinity is what the current MCU is, and it's sick when you look at it, but it's like, how the fuck did you fall so far in not understanding your mistake? But again, it's a roadmap to what not to do with Blade. Having Blade have a calm demeanor, but at the calm, still demeanor, but at the same time a joking attitude, perfectly fine. They did that in both movies. Having Blade be someone that's serious in the situation and understands what's going on, but also gives a sense of, he has his own way of handling and doing things because he's been doing it for so long. That happened in both of the first and the second movie. Regardless of what you might think with Critical Drinker did a review on the first Blade movie that honestly I felt was like, I don't agree with that statement, was the added aspect of like, well, Blade is a brooding person, but yet at the same time you have a moment when he was like, motherfucker, you lost your mind, when the cop shot at him. And it's like, well, it seemed like he didn't like that. Yet that is one of the highlights of the movies to me, because he did something that essentially Batman would never do. It was something that fit within his character. Having him, especially like in the second movie, when he was his little partner in crime was being coaxed by the vampire, and then he was like, sissy, like shit like that, putting a bomb on the back of a guy's head because he's fucking with him, because he understands that they got animosity towards him, but it's like, I gotta run this crew and they gonna fucking respect me, and no matter if I do it in a way that it fits Blade. So it's like, regardless of how you feel about the comics or anything like that, the movies themselves became a staple of how a lot of people appreciated and found out about Blade. Hell, I believe they changed his hairstyle in the comics in accordance to the movie being created, when at first he always had a fro. Regardless, like, all of these factors show you exactly how important that damn movie is to the character of Blade, as well as people who understand and like comic book movies, comic books, or just movies in general. So with all of that being said, as far as like basically things that you can take apart as, this is how you can handle Blade, this is how he's been handled well, this is how he's been handled poorly. From those factors, you can put together a great movie that everyone will love, as long as you just have this dude shrouded in black with glasses, have a small sense of humor with a deep brooding attitude that is punished by the fact that he has the thirst, but at the same time is the daywalker that all vampires hate and fear. And then you just have a whole movie where he's just killing vampires. There you go. It doesn't need to connect to the MCU on a grandiose scale. It doesn't need to impede onto the sequel or to constantly have this information being thrown at you as to where you are in the world, where this fits within this timeline and whatnot. Nerds that are used to the MCU being that way, they're gonna pick that apart however they want to, regardless. So that's not anything you need to focus on. But the issue right now, currently, is the fact that that is one of the main hangups that the MCU has, which is also one of the issues going on with this movie actually being taken care of well. Right now, this movie has gone through 2, if not 3 fucking directors. There still isn't a script, and as far as you know, they already have the cast laid out, yet there is no script, which makes even less fucking sense. But that goes to show you exactly the ridiculousness of the MCU propaganda that is a current trend. So, with that being the case, people know for a fact, one of the main staples in the story of what they definitely want is that they're going to have Blade's daughter play a major part within the movie. This is where the fuckery comes, because again, this is similar to Whistler's daughter within Blade Trinity. Remember, the bad Blade movie. So, and it's like, the fact behind this is that the MCU has been steadily building up a team of female new Avengers, or the Young Avengers, of all female Young Avengers team. And realistically, that is not something that needs to be handled or tackled with the character of Blade. Hell, they didn't even want Wesley Snipes to do it because they felt that he was too old to play the character. Yet the actor that they got to play Blade is now the same age Wesley Snipes was when they said that he couldn't play Blade because he was too old. Let that fucking sink in, right? Like, just ridiculous. Like, everything about this is ridiculous and stupid. And so you can't deny that if they was to have let Wesley Snipes come back and reprise his role, they would have been fine. Like, they would have made so much goddamn money off of that, especially if he had a hand in handling the character, which he would have did well with and gave a good amount of respect towards, because he helped build him. But whatever, I guess. So now, dealing with essentially understanding that the cast is an issue, that comes with the notion of the MCU basically being in this rut as far as script goes. Hell, the recent director got fired because of the fact that they just couldn't come to terms with what they wanted with the script, which again, Disney has been pushing this female bullshit for years, and they're not going to stop regardless of what anybody has to say. Blame Kevin Feige, blame everyone else that you want to. All of them are responsible for this dumb shit, and they're never going to change because they're dumb. They're just incredibly dumb. This shit can just make money hand over fist, but it just seems like they're just giving them a bunch of money and they're returning globs of shit because they don't care. But they don't really want a director with vision. They want a director that'll do everything that they want them to do and then essentially not give a fuck about their credibility or anything else, because that's how they've been handling everything so far. So there you go with that issue as well. And a lot of people gave credit towards the actor that played Blade. It kind of got spread around that essentially he disagreed on the script because it was disrespectful to Blade. That was bullshit. That was ultra bullshit. I'm telling you right now, that was bullshit. It actually got revealed that essentially the movie itself barely had any scenes with him in it. And he was upset at the fact that he had no screen time. So the movie mainly, that the last script that they made, that they threw out, was the fact that that script was written with him not having that much screen time, and then basically mainly focusing on the daughter, her group of friends, and them dealing with the vampires and whatnot, while Blade took a back seat. Most likely being made fun of, being talked down to, being called old or whatever, while his way of handling vampires is going to be different from them, who essentially might have been like purifying them or some dumb shit, and maybe the daughter would have fell in love with a vampire and they'd be like, "Daddy, no, I love her." It's something gay. It doesn't matter. But all of that fits within realm, like that's within brand of the current MCU, right? So this is what leads me to say that this movie is hopeless. There is no way this movie can be good in any way, shape, or form. Like I said, they already have established that they're going to do something with his daughter. That's never going to change. They already established that they're going to do female Young Avengers, and they want Blade to be a main staple within the notion of the MCU because what else do they fucking got? But they're constantly bogged down by the fact that you have these uncreative dumbasses writing something that essentially has a fucking roadmap to tell you all you need to do to make this good. Remember, the Blade movie at first wasn't even going to be rated R. That's something they had to push for. They had to push that really hard. They wanted it to be a PG-13, a movie about a guy who kills vampires. Things that drink blood, is known for being bloody, is known for having blood all over it, and gory, gruesome shit. And it doesn't have to be too gory and too gruesome, but it is a rated R movie. They say fuck. They said fuck all the time in the first and second Blade. But oh no, Disney's brand. People can't hear bad words. Oh, about all the child molestation shit y'all got going on. Hey, bad words. bad words. Fucking stupid. Remember, this is the same company that hired Harvey Weinstein's assistant to do Star Wars. Oh boy, I brought it back. I started off with Star Wars, said never mind, and then I brought it back to Star Wars because that's the power of Star Wars. But there is no hope for this movie. To even give this idea that, oh, if it come out, it might actually be good. You're an idiot. There's no two ways about it. Like, you're just being blissfully ignorant towards the fact of this shit essentially catering to an audience that just doesn't fucking exist is unbelievably dumb. There's no way to think that, oh, after all this time, Disney will finally get things right and make the MCU okay. Hell, even if they do make this movie, by forcing Blade to try and fit within the continuity of the MCU, it also won't make any goddamn sense because the current MCU movies, TV shows, and whatnot don't make any sense within the continuity of the MCU. So what fucking chance does this have? Hell, they even announced that the new Fantastic Four movie is going to be set in the 1960s in an alternate universe. Why announce that? Just release the movie and it be its own thing. DC has been making their own movies set in different timelines for years. It's not anything new, not anything that's surprising, nor does it need to boggle the mind if they happen to do it. It can just be its own standalone comic book movie. Fucking Spider-Man has existed for years like that. Why is it so difficult for the MCU to understand? You don't fucking need this ridiculous roadmap of stupid, especially if you can't even keep to the roadmap that you yourself have made yourself follow. Fucking dumb. It's so goddamn dumb. It's terrible. It really is terrible. I am I know this movie is not going to be bad. There's no way to think that this movie would be any good, even if it did come out. And even now, there's no script. The actors are just standing around in the back, like just kind of waiting for something to possibly happen. And then there's no director. Yet they've already spent millions of dollars on this movie alone. Why? How? How does that make any fucking sense? Jesus Christ. It's just terrible. The whole thing is terrible. There's nothing about any of the information being done for this movie that just makes any sense or feels authentic, genuine, or even remotely passionate. So, no, this isn't going to be handled well. It's not going to come out good. It's going to be a bad movie. And realistically, everyone needs to be prepared to mock and make fun of this terrible, terrible movie eventually when it comes out that's going to be about Blade and his daughter. Oh, also, don't forget, his daughter is a character that's new, that was just recently established within the comics because, again, how Disney is handling Marvel, girls have to replace all the guys because girl power. But I don't even know the daughter's fucking name. I didn't even know Blade had a daughter in the comics until they announced that that was going to be a staple within the script for this movie. Let that fucking sink in. Again, show you exactly how much that fucking matters towards that character. It doesn't. It really, really doesn't. And yet, we're gonna get what we're gonna get. And it's gonna be awful. It's just gonna be so awful. Honestly, expect the rules of the MCU to change and how they're gonna tackle these characters. It's going to change based off of what's gonna happen with Deadpool and Wolverine, to which all they're going to do is double down on the associated grouping of characters in relation to their popularity rather than actually interesting content, because they've already killed any type of credibility that they had. So aside from that, just always expect them from now on. They're going to do the buddy cop angle or shit people have been asking for years. Like, hey, have Spider-Man team up with Deadpool or shit like that. And it's like, will it make any sense? No. Will they do it? Oh, fuck yeah. And it's gonna make money. But it should and could be handled well, and they would make so much goddamn money. And it would be amazing to actually see it if it was done in that way. But then what we gonna get? Like, honestly, just these YouTubers that you supposedly hate and you call them toxic fans and the male gaze, the patriarchy and whatnot. If you sat down with these people who actually read your fucking comics and criticize it fairly, you sat down with them and your script writers and you actually work together with them to introduce a script worthy of something, you already get publicity based off of them talking about the fact that they helped with the script and they were like, oh, it actually seems like it's actually going to be a really good movie. And then you also get the added notion of people who know about the characters doing well by the characters. And well, I guess, yeah, the problem is that it's going to go against their fucking agenda. God damn it, there's just no way to win. There's no way to win when you have just stupid people in charge. What I'm trying to say, that took 22 minutes, is that I just really would like to see a good Blade movie again. Um, I really would. So I guess that means I just gotta rewatch Blade 2, because you have no idea who you fucking with. That's a really good movie. Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's it. Think of a great video for my comeback. So yeah, with that, I'm gonna just end it there. Thank you for watching and enjoying and indulging in this whatever with me. And yeah, stick around. I'm definitely got more content coming up soon. But yeah, this has been another episode of Fun with Flame. I've been your host, Daniel the Flame, and as always, good people. Hope you had fun.